Most people applying for monetization right now have already failed before a human has even had a look at their channel. A lot of them are using AI to make their content, which is fine, but YouTube has a specific way of flagging what content works and what doesn't. And if you're doing any of these 6 things in your videos, your channel is likely dead before you even can get it monetized. And I'm going to even show you, if your channel is falsely demonetized, how to fix that as well. I'm going to walk you through exactly what triggers it, and more importantly, how to fix each one more before you apply for monetization. Before we get into these 6, there's something most creators miss about the review process. YouTube isn't just checking your subscribers and watch hours. The system pulls your titles, your thumbnails, your actual content of your video, and your community history, and it builds a picture of how your channel really operates. One weak area is enough to sink an application that otherwise looks great on paper. So if you've been told that you just need to hit the eligibility numbers, that's the first thing to essentially unlearn. And even if you get monetized by using a lot of AI slop, and maybe it's just a lot of reused content or a lot of other reasons to not get monetized, you could get demonetized very quickly. Reposting someone else's clips without adding real value is the fastest red flag that YouTube has. Meme compilations, reaction videos where the original clip eats up most of the runtime, recycled stock footage with voiceover slapped on top. The system can tell almost instantly when the video is most likely borrowed material and if it's just a thin layer of you on top. That really doesn't add much value and transformative content to your videos. The trick is you need to add transformative content to the existing content, essentially making the original video have a lot more context or value on top of what it already had in the beginning. It needs to have your voice, your analysis, your opinion. The clip is there mostly to support what you're saying, not the other way around. So essentially, if you've removed the clip, would the video still make the point? And if the answer is no, then you haven't really transformed anything. You've just reposted it. A really great example here is when I created a channel called Dr. Crime, and we created very transformative content on top of the base layer of a dash cam police chase with a Tesla. And so basically the idea was we saw a police chase from dash cam footage of chasing someone in a Tesla. And so what we did is we didn't just play that footage because that could very easily not get monetized, or it could just as easily get demonetized. What we did was we transformed that content, added map animation views of where the chase took place, where it went, what happened, lots of extra content to the original raw clip of what's happening to transform what was already just a plain watching a chase to more of like a documentary style, added extra context and a little bit more entertainment value to it as well. Now, for example, YouTube Kids content, I mean, there's so much red tape around that. You can't even have end screens on your videos, so you can't promote another video at the end of your videos. But even content that is genuinely trustworthy and is true, like financial claims, even if it's a pretty bold claim, but if it's realistic or something that you have done or your clients have done, just like what I've done, then you're also dancing on the line if you're making money claims, not just in videos, but especially in the thumbnails and titles. So this is why a lot of creators like Alex Hormozi, Mike Tolbury, Iman Gadzi, even Shane Hummus, where they've created videos within the thumbnail and the title, there's a money number. So like make $1 million a year or $10,000 a month or $1,000 a day. These videos can get taken down because YouTube wants to try and avoid deceptive practices, I think is the term they use. And so they could strike your video down even if it's completely legitimate. And yes, adding some disclaimers into the video about, hey, this is just my results or my client's results. This is what we've done. I'm not saying you could do this. You've got to put in the hard work and results do vary. You can add disclaimers like that in the videos, but at the end of the day, if you're putting it in your thumbnails and titles, YouTube is still kind of checking you on that. And even if it's a legitimate claim, you've got to be careful. So that's why what we've actually done with our clients is tell them to use the word 5 figures or 6 figures or big money or crazy results or things like that instead of the actual money number itself and the dollar sign. That's a lot more safe and it gets still relatively the same interest. I mean, it is a little bit reduced, you know, seeing the number in the thumbnail and title is quite nice. Now, when I'm auditing a YouTube channel before a monetization push, the tool that I learned to use is actually vidIQ. It shows you exactly where your content is performing really well, where your traffic is coming from, if it flags these kinds of issues, and essentially you want to make sure that you can review it before you apply for monetization. So instead of guessing about what's wrong with your channel, you can actually just know by asking vidIQ. If you want to give it a try, the link is down in the description. It gives you a first month for 98% off, or just go straight to murrayfrost.com/vidIQ and give it a try. The discount is available through that link, and it's a tool that I use every single day. This next one's a little different. Strike 1 is about copying other people. Strike 2 is about copying yourself. It sounds kind of funny, right? Since it's your content. But every video uses the same structure, the same thumbnail style, the same script template, and even the same hook and formula. Essentially, this is what channels could do that is going to make you start looking like it came out of a content factory instead of you being the creator and creating unique content every time. And YouTube's review process picks up on that pattern quite quickly. Now, YouTube also can refer to this as mass production, and YouTube doesn't like that either. So go take a look at your last 10 uploads side by side. And if a viewer watched 3 of them back to back and couldn't essentially tell them apart, you've got a repetition problem, or mass production issue as YouTube likes to call it. Consistency is good. Repetition in terms of the format and content is not the greatest. Now, I'm not talking about formats in terms of like I spent 6 days in a circle, right? Just like Mr. Beast has done many times. That's not really what we're talking about. And that's not back-to-back content. Every video is different and uniquely put together. The idea at its core is similar. The thumbnails are very different. Titles can be different. The content itself is also very different, simply just because it's a lot of organic content that's happening really in the moment. So it's a lot more viable and it gets across easier without being in that mass production wave that YouTube doesn't like. The difference is whether each video has its own reason to exist, or whether it's just the same video with a new topic dropped in. This next one is a big one for AI content creators specifically. You can post 100% original content with nothing copied, nothing reused, and it just still gets rejected because original doesn't mean valuable. Fully AI generated videos with a text-to-speech voice, no human input, no essentially point of view, will essentially get flagged. So faceless channels where there's clearly no real creator behind the wheel, just a content pipeline running on autopilot, same kind of thing. There's really no transformative value to that, even though a lot of people might actually enjoy the AI slop stuff. And I do find it kind of funny too, but I don't really enjoy the majority of it. YouTube is looking for human involvement. And so a real person making decisions about what gets said and how it gets said, that doesn't mean that you have to show your face, but a voiceover with your actual opinions, your actual analysis, your actual takes on the topic can be enough. And for channels that maybe you rely a lot more heavily on the AI content being the stuff that really gets people to return, and you don't want to use your voice or voiceovers because it breaks the format and the enjoyment of the content, that can get a little bit trickier. So this is actually where it's very important to even transform the original AI content that you're creating into something a little bit more unique than what just the output is giving you through AI. So for example, if you're generating a video clip, a monkey talking to the camera, sure, that can be kind of fun, but at its surface value, there's really no transformative content there, even though it's originally generated from you through AI. YouTube still may not like this as much, and their policies are changing very quickly with AI, so this could change as well. But basically what you could do is add extra value and content in there. Edit stuff on screen, you can add overlays, text to help emphasize things. You can even add, I've seen people do visual effects onto original content. So I've seen people take like Iron Man clips where he's putting on his suit, he's flying, he's doing that all in Minecraft, but it's still Tony Stark in the Iron Man suit. They just cut him out or used AI to put him in Minecraft instead. So that is a little bit more unique, and you're using real elements combined with AI content as well. And that is an example of transformative content and editing your AI outputs to be a little bit more unique. The line is where the content kind of feels like it came from a human who cares, or a system that's just generating outputs. So if you're using AI, that's actually not what's killing you. The way you're using AI is what's going to kill you. One active strike on your channel and your application is over before it starts. You can't apply for monetization if you've got a strike on your channel. It doesn't matter how good your numbers look. It doesn't matter how clean your content is, how much effort you've put into it. Hate speech, harassment, misinformation, whatever that really means, content violating minors and lots of other things on YouTube, you're just not going to get monetized in general. Now, if you're already monetized and do get a strike with these, YouTube does have a little bit more leniency. You get 3 of those strikes until you actually get demonetized or start really getting penalties. So you do have a little bit of leeway once you're monetized. monetized. But YouTube takes these seriously enough that a single active strike while you're not monetized will not let you apply for monetization. And it could potentially block monetization further down the road. The good news is that strikes expire after 90 days. So after that, you're in the clear. And if you've got one right now, the smart move is to wait it out, still upload content that is not violating YouTube's policy, still be active, because obviously you're still monetized, right? At least with your first strike, and you can continue to upload, just be careful. This especially can get pretty difficult when you're creating content with kids in it. So I've worked with channels who have kids in the content, and essentially the biggest thing that you've got to be careful of is like doing dangerous stunts is a pretty big one that YouTube really does sometimes like to crack down on. And that can be honestly quite subjective according to YouTube. So when in doubt, probably stay on the safe side. I've worked with people who have done stunts that are not dangerous for minors, and yet YouTube will still flag it sometimes, and sometimes even in some cases give you a strike. And so I would rather err on the safe side when it comes to a minor doing some kind of stunt, even if it's a light, fun-hearted stunt, just because YouTube has flagged those and put strikes on channels because of that. And so even though it wasn't dangerous content that the minor did, we appealed it and YouTube still rejected it. So you're kind of at the mercy of YouTube sometimes. So these two sound familiar, copyright strikes versus copyright claims, but they're actually not. And they're confusing a lot of creators today, and it's causing a lot of problems. So a copyright claim means that someone else is taking the ad revenue from your specific video. It's frustrating, sure, but at least it's not the other one, right? It's zero effort for your monetization, but at the very least, it's not a copyright strike, which is essentially a completely different animal. It's a formal legal action, essentially. Content gets pulled from your channel, and even one strike can block your approval completely. 3 strikes and the channel's completely gone. So you got to be careful. If you're not sure which one you have, go back to your channel right now. The difference essentially is a copyright claim is where people are claiming your revenue, and a content strike is essentially they're just nuking the video entirely. One thing to really note is if you're using copyrighted, not just material, but characters or people, like for example, if you're using a Disney character like Stitch in your videos, or maybe you're using SpongeBob SquarePants as a character in your videos, but you're animating these 3D characters from scratch and you maybe even built them, you could still get a copyright strike because of you're infringing on copyrighted material or characters. And so you've even got to be careful with that. So I've seen people creating original content, original scripting, 3D animations, modeling the characters, but they were of Disney characters, and Disney struck the video essentially and in the entire channel and completely deleted the channel. And so you got to be careful about who and what you use in your videos, especially if it's a big media company like Disney. There's also a lot of channels out there about like football, like soccer football. And when you're creating like the best goals of 2026 or the top 10 goals of all time, you got to be very careful about the content you use, because there's a lot of outlets out there and a lot of studios that really are pretty stingy about their content being on YouTube. So you can get copyright strikes or claims very easily. So if you are kind of playing in that kind of murky water there, the easiest solution is when you upload it to your video or to your channel, you want to make sure that it's in the clear before you make it public. You don't want to get copyright strikes that way. And chances are when it's private or unlisted, YouTube will say if the video gets blocked because of a certain section in the video. But again, even if YouTube doesn't tell you if there's any copyrighted material in there, you still run the risk of that video getting struck down by that organization that owns it. So it's not completely foolproof. If you really want to be in the safe, just make your own original content. Now, some niches just get more scrutiny. So health, firearms, gambling, made for kids, anything politically sensitive. You can essentially do anything right in these niches, but still get reviewed harder than most other content creators making this content. The test I use is the advertiser test. Would a real brand feel comfortable having their logo on your video? And if you hesitate, there's your answer. Advertisers want to be comfortable monetizing your videos. And the more borderline your content is, the more carefully you need to think about what your framing is and what content is in your videos. Alright, so if you've applied and got rejected, here's kind of the process. And while it's not foolproof, it's at least something. I personally have never been rejected by YouTube with monetization except I think once, and this was the process that I used. Start by actually reading the rejection reason. Sometimes YouTube gives pretty vague answers, but sometimes it also does give some clues as to what could be fixed. From there, go back to your channel using these 6 strikes above to essentially understand what your content is about and audit it honestly. You can then remove what's happened. You have to delete the content. You can't just make it private. And then you've got to wait that period where you can essentially reapply for monetization. However, sometimes YouTube legitimately does get it wrong. And a lot of creators have posted about it, and it's happened to me once. So what YouTube really does care about is their outward perception to the public. And so if you go to X or Twitter and just ping Team YouTube on the post, you can post screenshots. That obviously adds credibility to your claim and telling them that, hey, this has been wrongfully flagged. I've tried to have someone review it. Sometimes it comes back in a minute or two where clearly a human didn't get a chance to read it. It was just an AI response. So in that case, you have a lot more power in saying, hey, I really need a human to review this. It was an AI and I made a mistake, which has happened before. And so this is essentially going to help avoid maybe you just getting lost in the noise with AI, because you can't appeal a rejection to an appeal. So you've got to reach out through YouTube's support team. Reaching out on X and tagging them is really going to help. And YouTube liaison is also going to be able to help sometimes if you ping him as well. During this process though, one thing that a lot of people think that they have to do now is just wait, but actually you need to keep posting. YouTube looks at your recent uploads during review, and a stale YouTube channel doesn't help your case at all. And plus, if your channel gets reinstated, you just essentially don't want to lose momentum in your growth. So as soon as you get monetized again, you go from zero, making 0 per day, and to who knows, whatever you were making before plus more maybe because you kept posting. So I've had channels go from 0 to making $500 a day. So I've been rejected before. So on the Dr. Crime channel that I mentioned earlier, there was a period of time that we got monetized, but I think a month in, they told us that it wasn't eligible for monetization. So here's what I did. I actually recorded my screen from the YouTube studio, making sure I show the YouTube channel link right in the first frame of the video so that review person knows what channel it's about. Then I literally do a screen recording and show all of the editing process, from the idea process through the scripting to the voiceover to the editing to the publishing, thumbnail design. Show them the entire process. You've got to do it within 5 minutes. So you've got to kind of fly through it, but they want to see what you've been doing and what are you adding extra value to it. Is it making original content? What does your workflow look like? Are you transforming the content? Things like that. That's honestly one of the easiest processes to fix an appeal to where YouTube's essentially demonetize your channel. It's happened to me before twice in those cases, and that fixes it right up. Now, if you really want to understand what drives views, because before getting monetization, you need a lot of views to get 4,000 watch hours, but also once you're monetized, you want to make the most you can, right? So I've created 2 format videos where I break down what is behind 4.5 billion organic views that I've generated on YouTube and the 2 different formats that are involved with that. So click on that video over here and I'll show you exactly which format you should go with based on the 4.5 organic billion views that I've generated.